My name is Manoj Singh Negi, and today I'm going to walk you through why I created my own coding agent, AGN-CLI. So this is AGN-CLI, my own minimal coding agent. The number one reason I wanted to build my own coding agent is to demystify agents. A coding agent at its core is a very simple piece of software. Even in AGN-CLI, we have LLM support, then we have 5 core tools, and a while loop. That's pretty much it. And it can already handle most of the simple tasks you throw at it. The second reason I wanted to build my own coding agent was to move away from noise. So Claude Code, Cursor Agent, all of these tools, all of these coding agents are very complex. And I wanted to build a very simple, minimal coding agent which can just do what I asked it to do and be intelligent enough to handle most of the tasks that I throw at it. For example, if you look at my screen, AGN can do things like, find all the to-do commands, summarize them by file, or let's say, read this package JSON and explain the scripts. All the routine tasks, all the simple enough tasks for which you don't need Cursor Agent or Claude Code. Now let's talk about what is AGN CLI and how you can use it in your workflow. I'm also going to show you some examples on how I use AGN CLI in my day-to-day life. So let's get started. So to install, it's very simple. It's an npm package. You just go and install valuable AGN CLI, right? Simple enough. This will install the CLI command for AGN, right? Now you go to your terminal, just do AGN init. And for that, you're going to need an OpenAI key. You can get it from your dashboard and just get that key. And when you do AGN init, it will ask you to paste it and it will save that as a configuration. You can also modify your model if you want to. And you can also pass a model like this AGN-1 model GPT 4.1 mini or any other model that you want to use. Right now, it only supports OpenAI model, but Anthropic support is coming up, which will let you use Claude models like Opus or um, Haiku, Sonnet, all that. So why you should use AGN-CLI? AGN-CLI is built for engineers who want to understand how their coding agents work. You can literally read AGN-CLI code in one session. It's most probably 500 lines of code. If I'll show you here, this is basically the code, right? So this is the agent code, which is like 150 lines. Then there are tools you can see here, which are like 136 lines. These are like the most important files in the whole code base. Second, engineers who really want to understand what AI is writing in their code bases, right? So for example, with tools like Cursor Code and Cursor, yes, you can implement workflows, which will let you know exactly what they're writing in your code base, but still those agents push you to trust them more, right? And most of the time in a session, they just make changes to like 40 different files and you just don't know what they actually did. Yes, the feature works, but you don't understand what is actually going on. So yes, you can outsource your thinking, but you cannot outsource your understanding. And that bite backs in future as tech debt. And Agent CLI is perfect for developers who keep doing the same task again and again, same routine task, same message to the agent. And it can really, and with the composable nature of AGN-CLI, you can actually compose LLM-based scripts, which you can run on the command line. I'm going to show what I'm talking about. Let's dive right into how I use AGN daily in my workflow, right? So I have a couple of examples here, and we're going to explore the AGN coding agent together. Let's do that. So I have a directory here, and AGN is already installed. I already did AGN init, and it already knows what model I want to use and everything, right? So now let's firstly and foremost, let's say AGN summarize the package.json, right? I go hit enter and then it's going to run. And one good thing about agent is agent's gonna show all the tools that is gonna use. So in the start, I told you that it has a read file tool. So you can see it basically showing us that it used the read file tool, right? And then it basically summarizes. So this package.json defines a private Next.js ape named Vortex. This is the Vortex. This is the key points. What framework it is using, the React version, the scripts, npm run script. I'm gonna also talk about this as well. But this is the dependencies, and then the dependency and all that, right? Now let's make some changes to the code base. Let's add a hello world route, right? So I'm gonna say AGN create a hello world slash get route, not slash get, but like just get route. The route name is going to be slash hello, right? So now it knows that it's a Next.js project and everything. So it's gonna read, right? So you can see what it's doing. It used the shell tool to, basically uh, list the files, then shell to find like more files, packages, and read the agents.md file, everything, right? Now read the um, codebase summary route.ts shell, everything, write the file. So you can see it, write the file at route.ts. Also run the lint to see if there's anything missing or not. And so created Next.js get routes. It responds at get slash hello and everything. So let's start the server and npm run dev. Open another here samples Vortex. So now I'm in the Vortex folder. Now let's go to the hello route, right? So I'll click on this, use system browser, go to, let's say, slash hello, and you can see the message hello world, right? So it basically created a route which sent a message hello world. It was able to do it on itself, right? um right now, let's say the another way I use AGN is in my commit messages. So for example, let's say I want to commit a message, like commit changes, and I want like a summarized message of it, right? So instead of doing git commit and all that, what I actually did is this. So if I go to cursor and I go to this is the Vortex project. And if I go to the package.json, you can see um, I created a script in the package.json called commit, where I basically called AGN coding agent and say create a detailed summary with a list of points implemented and then commit all the untracked files. So because AGN is a CLI, I can just go ahead and use it like this inside any script. And that is why I'm saying AGN is composable. So you can basically use it inside your scripts, right? As a CLI tool. You can also use it as an NPM library. I'm going to show that as well, but basically like this. Now, the great thing about this is I can just go ahead and say npm run commit, and it's going to call AGN with the message, and it will basically, go through. And because it has shell command, it basically can do everything a shell script can do, right? So it basically knows that this command will give me all the files. It did that shell, then read the code base summary and all that, read this file, right? And created like all the message and everything, and then new summary, added a new so this is a change which was which I done before, then implemented get and post support for accepting a target UI and all. This is the code base summary route. um, so integrated this and all that, added structured JSON error handling and all that, and you can see this the new change that we did. So it is added a simple hello JSON route, right? And if I look at git log, right? You can see the implement changes, which we just did right now, right? So this is like another way I use AGN, and this can be a really great way of you using AGN in your day-to-day routine tasks. For example, if whenever you make a change, go ahead and update the doc, right? So it will basically create it. So for example, we can do it even right now. So let's say AGN create a project.md doc, which should be a brief about what this project do. Keep it under, let's say, um, 300 words, right? So it's gonna basically go through the whole project. You can see it's finding what the project is about, and now it's gonna read some files and then just gonna basically create the project.md. It's gonna take some time, so let's let it keep doing that. I think it read some yeah the everything. So it says create a program with a brief description. If I go to here program, you can see what is a lightweight web application built with this. The application includes a default landing page. It also have a hello route, which do this and all that, right? So yes, like simple enough coding agent. And notice that we are not using cursor agent or Claude code, right? We are just using AGN, and AGN can mostly handle 50 to 60% of tasks you already do with Claude code and cursor agent. One important thing to notice with AGN is that every run is, you give a prompt and that's it. It exits. So it doesn't have any context about or any history about the change you made in the last iteration. And it seems like a bug, but that is intentional, because what basically happen is, like, when you work with LLMs or work with agents, if you really understand how agents or LLM context window work, you know that um, quality context matter, right? So when you do a lot of iterations in a single session, your LLM basically start to have context pollution, it start to hallucinate, and start to make assumption, right? Or just simply forget the initial conversation or the important bits of the conversation, right? So it is intentional in AGN that every run is one prompt, uh, run the tools, do the changes and exit, because it's your responsibility as as the manager of AGN, or as someone who's using AGN to take control of that context, right? So that's one thing. Now, the other way I use AGN is inside the JavaScript code or the TypeScript code. So let me show you that here. So for example, if I go inside source API, and there is a code-based summary route, the name is misleading, but basically what it can do is, you can see you can import AGN-CLI in your code as well. So it will work as CLI as well, but you can also import it as well. And if you go to package.json, you can see you can install it as a dependency. So I did npm install valuable agent-CLI in this, and then I'm able to import agent and the OpenAI provider, right? And then what I basically did is, let me show you here. So what I did is I created an agent. So new agent, I provided the provider is the OpenAI provider. Again, right now it only supports OpenAI, but I'm going to add support for other providers as well, like local LLMs like Llama and all that, and also Anthropic. So you can use Claude models with it. So API key and then the AGN model. So I have defined the AGN model inside my env. I can't show you that because there's an OpenAI key as well. And I also defined my API key inside the, so get API key inside the OpenAI API key, right? So I provided it a API key and the model, and basically it needs it because it needs to, talk to your, LLM. So we're going to use OpenAI for that. And there are hooks, and this basically are like, what happens when a tool call is getting called, or what happens when a result comes, right? And all that. And then it's gonna run. And this is the prompt. You can see I'm building a prompt here. You could just gonna like run a prompt. You also can give it max iteration, so how many tools call it can actually iterate, because it can actually go into a dead loop where it just keep running forever, and then whatever the response is, you give it back. Now, basically, what is the prompt? So prompt is a very simple prompt. It's just a web scraping agent. Basically the target URL is this, and use a shell command and all. So we are not basically telling it to use any package, or like we are not installing any package to fetch the target URL or anything. The only thing we are doing is we are basically calling agent, and agent will handle everything. The other thing that you'll notice that this is a very detailed prompt for a very simple task. The reason I did that is so it doesn't go do anything that I don't want it to do, right? Uh, so now with that in mind, let's try this API, right? So basically, AGN, give me a curl to test the code base summary route, right? So I'm basically asking it to give me a curl. So it's just gonna read everything there. So it is reading the code base summary route. So it just gave me a right. I can just do this. So basically, I'm asking it to go to example.com and basically give me the response of it, right? So I'm gonna hit enter, and you can see this is basically the the tool result. So you can see the what is the output of it. So the fetch confirm is estimated with the following readable title, example, everything, right? And this is the tool calls that we did and everything, right? So this is how you can use it inside your code as well. I'm going to introduce new features like output, structured output. So for example, if you need certain type of structure, so you just define it in JSON, and then you will receive the same structure. So right now it is not the same, not like a string message or anything, but then it will, if you ask it to return it in the JSON, it will return it in the JSON. So basically follow the development of agent, or even you can come and contribute to agent itself because it's open source. So one other, one other important thing I want to show you is skills. So basically, agent have support for skills. You can extend agent functionality or can adapt it to your workflow using skills. Skills are simple markdown files which you can use to provide information to agent when it's working, right? Claude Code and Cursor Agent already has support for skills. You can go ahead and watch that out. But basically, uh, AGN can also support skill, right? So right now there is no native way to create skills, but I'm gonna implement that feature. I'm gonna highly recommend you to, go ahead and check out AGN-CLI. And if you also want to contribute to it, go ahead and make your first PR, right? So we don't have a native support, but I already have a skill in my, so this is AGN Codebase. In the AGN folder. So I'm just gonna copy its relative, not relative, but copy its path, and just gonna say copy -rv paste into .agn, agn/skills, right? And you can see it basically moved all the skills from my AGN code base to the Vortex code base. So I can do ls.agn skills, and you have create skill. And if you now, so now we have AGN. If you go to, I don't know, so this I just deleted. So Vortex AGN skills, create skill. And if you go to skill.md, this is how a skill looks. You have a name, create skill, you have a description, create a skill file, use when the user mentions create skill, create a skill, or create a new skill. So whenever you mention something like that, it will automatically uh, know what to do and to read this file. So basically, here we have defined like how to create a skill and creating what is the flow of the skill. So now what I can do is I basically extended the functionality of AGN. Now what I can do in AGN is this is very simple. I can just say create a skill. And let's say I want to create a skill which give me a summary of let's create a skill which, so now let's create a skill which help me plan whenever I want to implement a feature. So whenever I want to implement a new feature, instead of implementation directly, create a plan dot create a plan.md. It should have a unique ID, right? So unique name.md with a plan to implement the changes. This plan will include the code changes with diffs or any new uh, de extra dependency we use. So now let's hit enter. So now we have a tool called read skill, and now you can see it, read its create skill. So it read the create skill, and now it knows how to create a skill, right? So what it's gonna do is it's already gonna create the skill inside the feature planning, and this is skills as product feature. So basically, you use skills to extend what AGN can do. So even though AGN doesn't have anything in its code to create skills, but now using AGN, you can just create skills, right? So it wrote a file, feature planning skill. So now if I go, you can see there is a new skill here, skill.md, and you can see feature planning requires creating implementation before making feature changes. Use when the user asks to implement, add, build, create, or develop a new feature separately before writing code directly. So, whenever the user wants to implement a feature, do not implement the feature directly as the first step. Do this, right? So this is the feature summary and everything, right? So now let's do that. So let's say AGN, I want to add a new feature where there will be a new route to return random 2 digits number, right? If I hit enter, so you can see it redid the feature plan. Where is the run? Yeah, so you can see it redid that skill instead of directly going ahead and implementing it, right? And basically it is writing the you know um, the plan. So you can see plan random 2 digit route.md create an implementation from this thing, right? I stopped out creating a plans required. If you want, I can proceed with implementing the route now, right? So how cool is that? So it created a random file. Okay, this implementation approach, files likely to be changed. This, what is going to change, propose new files, and you can even see it's showing the diffs and everything, right? And now this is the power of skills as product feature. And yeah, this is AGN, right? I'm very excited about how people are going to use AGN, right? And I highly recommend you guys to watch and go to the repo. I'll link it in the description, install it and use it in your own machine, your own workflow, and help me, make this tool better. And if you're someone who wants to contribute to AGN, please reach out to me on GitHub. I already created a lot of issues, right? You can always reach out to me on GitHub, on LinkedIn, and we can work together. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'll see you in the next video.